Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to talk about prioritizing privacy to build trust and win customers. I'm sure all of you are marketers, so understand that there's a lot going on right now in regards to privacy. So I'm really excited to be with you all. My name is Lindsay O'Connor. I'm the Senior Digital Sales Director here at AdTaxi. I've been with AdTaxi since it was born, so to speak, so around 2010. And so I've been really honored to be a part of their growth and experience all of the changes that we've gone through. I am based here in Pennsylvania. I have a husband and 2 kids, and I went to Penn State. So anyway, that's very exciting. So the agenda today. We're going to talk about just the data privacy landscape as a whole. So if you're not fully familiar what's going on, just make sure you're up to speed. And then also go through some of the struggles that we've seen marketers, consumers, businesses alike kind of go through in regards to first-party data and how to utilize that for personalization. And so we'll just talk through some different tactics that you can use to make sure you're being helpful, not annoying, and then how to best do that across some of our platforms. One thing to note, just before we kind of came up with this, we do have someone who does a lot of research and takes a lot of time. Her name's Maria Coleman, and she put together a lot of the information that's in here. It's something that she stays on top of. She handles all of our social media. And so I just wanted to point that out because this is the most relevant, up-to-date content that we were able to pull. So hopefully you'll find it very, very relevant. And then just you'll hear, it's going to continue to change, right? This is going to be something that's ever evolving. And so I did just want to point out we will have consistent updates regarding, personalization and first-party data. So stay tuned and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions after or throughout. So before I get started, I just wanted to get kind of an understanding of where you all were. And so I have a question. So first-party data is becoming more and more important for businesses to have a handle on and for marketers to understand. So I'd like to just kind of get a pulse for how you're doing. So first is, I don't even know what first-party data is. You're not worried about it at all. That you have some data but aren't really doing anything with it. You have some data but really need to gather more, or you've got it on lockdown and you're just crushing it with all your consumer data and applying that to marketing. So if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and select one of the answers. It'll just kind of give me a good understanding where you're at and making sure that I'm kind of on the same page. I'll give you a minute there just to go through and have some time to pick your answer. All right, I am gonna go forward. Last chance, last chance. All right. Oh, okay. So this is good. So I don't know what first-party data is. Most of you have some data and need to gather more, so that's great. So there will be some tips that we'll talk through that will really help you with that. I love that 7% that are crushing it. Kudos to you. Hopefully I can give you some tidbits to walk away with. And for those of you who don't really have a ton of data or not sure what it is, I'm going to cover all those bases. So don't worry, but thank you so much. This is just a good idea. And then you all as an audience, since you can see this answer, it's kind of good to see where your peers are at as well. So, all right, let's first dig into what the data privacy landscape looks like. So if you think about really digital marketing as a whole, there is constant evolution. I remember, like I said, I've been in this for quite some time when mobile get-in hit from Google. So when everyone needed to make sure they had a mobile-friendly website, that seemed like the most crazy thing that we had to make sure everyone was doing. And then Chrome launched the incognito in 2008. GDPR in 2018. So through time, we've had some evolutions and changes within this landscape and within data that really, every time those launched, I think as marketers, businesses alike, were concerned that how is this going to impact us? And I feel like that's a really good, tell that as a whole, we've been able to move forward and actually get better through all of these changes. And I think it continues to service the end user much better, which is really what we want at the end of the day. And so that leads me to believe and not really be fearful of the things that are to come. So one, most recently, Apple launching the iOS 14 update. I am going to dig into what those are just in case you aren't sure, just to give you an idea of what that means. And then obviously with the upcoming cookieless future. And so Google did push that out now to 2023, but it is something that is going to happen and have an impact on what you do from a business standpoint, a marketer standpoint. And so we'll talk through some things for you to think about and ways to prepare. So going through iOS 14, so this update, Apple really wanted to put the user at the forefront and make sure that they had control and understood what data was being collected about them, how that data was being collected, and what was being done with it. And so there are three key levers that iOS or Apple put into place. So first, app data disclosure. So if you have an Apple phone or an iPhone, I should say, you might have noticed, every time you log into an app for the first time or recently since the update, it's going to say, will you allow this to track your data? Are we able to track you? And so it's basically the disclosure is saying, hey, we are going to collect your data and here's what we're going to be doing with it. Then there's also the app tracking transparency framework, which says you also are going to opt in or be okay with if this app tracks you across other websites and other apps outside of their own. And then finally, the privacy-centric measurement. So from a marketing standpoint, this is something to think about. It's saying all of these preferences the users have put into place. So if they said they are okay with being tracked or not okay, that same preference needs to apply to any advertising and measurement that's going to go on through that. And so it's a really, again, it's putting the power within the consumer, which I think will have positive benefits that I'll talk about. But there's just something to be mindful of, especially as we continue to market. Now, I do want to point out that recently in July of 2021, the latest updates on who has an iPhone versus an Android, there's about 53% of the US population does have an iPhone. So more than half obviously skew to having this. So at the minimum, it will impact half of people that you're going after. So then we talk about the cookieless future. Cookieless future is really the end of a third-party cookie. So for those of you who aren't familiar with first-party data versus third-party data, I'll kind of set the bar there. So first-party data is really the data that you own about your customer. So people that are coming into your website or purchasing from you or have worked with you in the past, maybe you have their name, email address, phone number, whatever that is, that's first-party data. Then there's something called third-party data that basically is all of the websites that are out there have cookies on them. And it is able to follow you as a user across the internet and collect information and data. And that data is then used for advertising. So that's the third party. What the cookieless future is doing is getting rid of all of that behavioral tracking that's going to happen across the internet. And so really what it's going to do from a business standpoint, it's going to have really you finding that balance between privacy and delivering a really strong customized experience for your customers. It's also going to push you into being much smarter with ad dollars. So what do these changes mean? So what do they mean for customers, businesses, and marketers? And I'm going to dig into specifically what it is for each here in a minute. But first, I think it's important that we understand, we think about third-party data and, targeting and all of these things that are out there. And I think we just as an industry have not done a good job at explaining why this is happening in the first place. And really it's about this value exchange. So when the internet first launched, it's free, right? There's all of this amazing content and information just at our fingertips that we can access at any time. And again, it's for free. But publishers, it's not free for them to purchase this content or push this out. So they have to make money in some capacity. And that's where advertising comes in. So that content is really able to be free because of advertisers. And so consumers are getting the benefit of the free content. Publishers are getting the benefit of being able to monetize via advertising. And marketing is obviously benefiting because businesses are getting in front of people. And that third-party cookie has allowed us to do some different targeting to make sure that we are getting in front of the right people. However, the beauty is we can use first party, so again, your own data, to also reach these people across the internet. So Steve Jobs put it perfectly, I think. Privacy means people know what they're signing up for in plain language and repeatedly. I believe people are smart. Some people want to share more than other people do. Ask them. So I think that's perfect. It's really just kind of saying what the point of all of this data and privacy changes are about is let the people kind of say what they want and tell you how they would like you to interact versus, it just being put upon them. So if you think about it as well, privacy just as a whole is very good for business. So if you are putting privacy as a concern, it shows that you're being very thoughtful and considerate of those who are engaging and interacting with you. And from that, you're going to build trust. And visitors, to your website, once they understand that you're trying to put their privacy first, and they have, given them your trust, they're more likely to then share information with you. And again, this shared information is what's going to feed into your first party data. And I think all of that is very important. And also providing choice and preferences for what they share and how they share it is going to be key for you to collect more useful information in the future. So let's talk about how to overcome struggles and really thrive within first-party data and personalization. So first, it's all about meeting the demand, making sure that we're kind of, coming to a head with the demand that's on the consumer side as well as on the marketing side. So if you see here on these stats, 63% of digital marketing leaders say they struggle with personalization. Then if you look at it from the consumer standpoint, 56% of online shoppers are more likely to return to a website that recommends a product. And 83% of consumers are willing to share their data to create a more personalized experience. And I think that's really important. Millennials specifically almost expect, because they've just kind of grown up in this way, that, things have been very targeted to them or retargeted to them. And so they're very used to that one-to-one type of relationship. And so I think that will continue. They will be more willing, and they're almost expecting that type of service, if you will. And if you look a little bit further down how consumers feel, 91% of consumers say they're more likely to shop with brands that provide offers and recommendations that are relevant. In order for you as a business to do that, it's understanding your customer and making sure that you have enough information to provide them those offers and recommendations. And then finally, 71% of consumers feel frustrated when a shopping experience is impersonal. So it's just supporting everything that, we're going to be talking about here, that really creating that personalized touch is really what people are looking for, but doing it with their privacy and data in mind and protected. So obviously there's benefits to collecting and having first-party data, but there's still struggles, right, on your end for being able to best utilize it. One is that you're not collecting enough or the right kind of information. And so I'll talk through how you can do that and how you can collect more if you're not already. Another pain point has been a lack of a centralized system, like a CRM, for instance. I know we recently upgraded our CRM, and it has done wonders for us to be able to speak to our clients and our prospects. Not understanding how to use technology for analysis. How do you use, let's say you do have a CRM, but how do you best utilize it to make an analysis to make your marketing better? And then finally, can't translate the data into actionable optimizations. So these are very real, and understandably, makes it hard for you to want to keep moving forward with the first party data. But I think there are some things that you can do, and I'm going to talk through them. So one thing to think about is look at your current database, whether it's on an Excel spreadsheet or you do have a nice CRM, whatever it is, just try to look at the database and try to find similarities and things that you can do with it. So if you only just have like a name and an email address, that's okay. Take a look at it, put that into, send an email to those people and ask some questions, right? If you don't have enough insight right now, you can actually reach out to your database and have some questions, do a survey, see what type of information do you want to hear about from us? Are there special offers you would like to see? Almost engaging and asking will help you kind of determine your path forward. Also looking at your social channels. Check out, you can look at the analytics of people engaging with you and responding to your social channels currently. And so that will give you some insight right there of the types of people that are engaging. You can also see, what are they saying? Are they asking a very similar question time and time again? Are there certain interests that they tend to have very similarly? So taking a peek at that will be very useful. I would also say using social channels for kind of that survey purpose. I mentioned that with email, but you can ask questions. Again, what do you want to know from us? What do you want to hear? What do you want to see? That's going to help you, again, customize and provide better experience for your customers. Looking at your offline data, your mobile apps, website registrations, chatbots. So if you have a chatbot on your website, seeing, are there certain questions that keep coming up, right? See if there's any common themes or trends that you should be looking at and addressing. And then finally, there's something called a living profile that really provides more of a preferences being put in by the customer. So for instance, I shop with an online website for clothing, and when I signed up, they had a VIP loyalty program that basically allowed me to put in, what my size is, what my favorite colors are, what I typically like. So all of those types of things are now creating this living profile that sits with me. So every time I log into their app, they have this information, and they're very, very good about targeting me or sending me an email or sending me a push notification when there's a new black dress that they just unveiled. And they send it to me, and I feel very special because now I know about it, it fits within my interests, and it feels very one-to-one and personal. So that's just an example. Also with the living profile, I do want to mention there is some technology that is being created. There's probably some out there already, but I know there are some things that you can add to your website to allow that to be available to you. So what type of data should you collect? If you don't have any yet, maybe you already have some, but here's just kind of the basics, and they're very inexpensive and a really strong way for you to gain these customer insights. So first and foremost, a simple sign-up form on your website, or even in person if you have a store, but collect names, email addresses, phone numbers, mailing addresses. This is going to give you insight as to kind of where people are coming from, and it'll just start helping you build this database. Also ask for a preferred method of contact. Some people like to have text messages. I know for me, my email is slammed all the time from tons of people, and I actually very much prefer a text message. I appreciate it. I see it. I'm going to respond to it, and it's just kind of sits outside of the norm. So I think asking for that is really, really great. And then also look back at your purchase history. So look at the people who have purchased from you in the past. And I think gleaning an insight, if you don't know already, what the lifetime value of one customer is, as well as what is the consistency. So let's say you have an online clothing store. How many times are people typically purchasing from you? Is it once every 3 months, every 6 months? Is it every month? What does that kind of look like? And you can even segment audiences out based on those who purchase more from you or interact with you more than those who don't. So these are just some quick, easy insights that you can look at. There's also data that you might already have. If you have Google Analytics set up on your website, you can look at some business intelligence that's right there, built within Google Analytics. You can see, what are people doing when they come to your website? What does that behavior flow look like? Are people dropping off at certain pages? So this will kind of give you even just an insight for your online experience, which is just as important. And then dig deeper. So again, if you do have a CRM and you have like just a basic profile, you can look as well and get advanced data on people who, how are they actually interacting with you? So kind of speaks back to, how many times are they purchasing, or, what does that engagement look like? You can get deeper insights such as age and income level. You can also look at cart abandonment. And again, if you don't have a CRM, Google Analytics is super helpful to provide some of this information. I would also look at any marketing that you're currently doing. So if you're running a search campaign, running a social campaign, running display, whatever it is, you can start specifically with search. You can see, where are these purchases coming from, right? Where are you getting more engagement? Where are you having more success from a geography standpoint? So you can start kind of disseminating and figuring things out, again, from any of your current campaigns. So we know personalization is key, right? We want to be helpful, not annoying. There's that fine balance. I'm always trying to teach my kids about this, actually. So personalization. So the best way to start. So it really should be thought about as a way of a series of gentle nudges. And I love the way that's put, because you don't want to be in their face and overly aggressive. It's just kind of a gentle nudge and a gentle, hey, checking in type of scenario. And so some of the things that you can look at is, again, looking at the online and offline consumer preferences, making sure that you have creative content that's being put out there. And I'm just going to give you an example. Obviously, this is B2B, but for ourselves personally, I mentioned Maria. She puts out a ton of really, really helpful content on a regular basis. And we try to look at, what are people responding to, whether that's on social media, whether it's just on our website in general, whatever it is, we try to look at, what are people engaging in, and how are they engaging in it? And is it video versus just a white paper, whatever that may be. But it helps us to provide more of that information to our current client base. And then finally, just focusing on a good brand experience so they come back for more. I mentioned that store that I shop online, and I love that they, if I shop for something that I didn't have my size in, once it is back in stock, they shoot me an email, they send me a text message, and that's just a good brand experience. I'm very thankful for that little, again, nudge to remind me to come back. Also, just creating that opt-in culture. Customers want personalization. They really, really do. And so by providing them the ability to opt in and to engage in some sort of like loyalty program or whatever it may be, it just helps provide that personalization piece. It also is going to help you build your relationship with your customers, which really at the end of the day, that's what this all is about. And then you can better tailor your digital efforts across all channels and all platforms when you're engaging more and understanding your current customer better. So knowing kind of what to ask and when to ask is also very important. And so I would look at analytics to, maybe Google Analytics, look at like social media, see if there's like a time of day report that you can pull to see when are people engaging with you more often than not. And that will help you figure out maybe timing. Also, again, looking at the life cycle of your customer. Do they typically reach out to you every month, every 3 months? What does that look like? And so that will also give you some timing of when they might actually want to hear from you again. And then also looking at the channels. So this is going to take some testing. It will take some effort and analysis on your end, but I would say, try all the channels, try social media, try all the programmatic offerings that are out there to engage and interact with your customers and try to, ask these questions to figure out where's the response coming from. So some other ways to kind of incentivize customers to provide this information and provide this data, you can see here on the left, it's kind of written out. So how to capture customers and insights. So first and foremost, a loyalty program. That is something that has just exploded across many brands and businesses. And so it's a very, very smart way for you to get more information and will really help you understand and get more insights on your current customer base. Also, customers create an account to get better deals. So thinking about that, what can you provide people that did sign up for you? I talked about this online store. It's lulus.com, by the way, if there's any, it's all girl clothes, but it's amazing. I've signed up for their VIP loyalty program. If I spend a certain amount of money, I guarantee to get free shipping. I'm notified of like the latest fall fashions that come out. So for me, that's exciting. And so I was very much willing to give them all the information because they're providing me so much more in return. Downloadable content, signups, a newsletter. this is a way that we're able to engage with our prospects or even current customers. We provide a lot of really great content that they can look at, newsletters that go out on a weekly basis. So it's just a really nice way for you to engage and, again, stay in touch with your customers. Enhance the customer experience. So how else can you do it? How else can you continue? I would look at your online experience. So be the customer when you go onto your website and see what is it like from homepage to whatever you consider a conversion. So maybe it's a purchase or it's a sign up for a newsletter, whatever it is that you want them to do. See how easy of an experience that is for them to get to that point. Do you make it accessible? Is it understandable how to get to that end result that you're looking for? And enable tracking. So tracking on your website will help you, one, understand where there's drop off, where people are, engaging more versus not. And then it also help you have a really smart retargeting campaign. So how to effectively utilize those? You can build lookalike audiences. So customers that are signing up for loyalty programs, you can build lookalike audiences off of that to find more. You can email a database of people that either are your current customers to give them better offers to get them coming back. You can segment and develop marketing tactics based on this, or drip campaigns. So an example that we're doing internally at AdTaxi is, understanding personalization is not just a B2C type of thing, it's a B2B as well. And businesses want us to say, hey, we understand your industry and businesses similar to you. And so making sure that we're being very personalized in that approach is very key. And so having our marketing as well as our email campaigns are going to really help and have to service this. And then retargeting after purchase is key. So a stat that I mentioned earlier, people want recommendations. They want to hear, okay, I purchased this dress, give me the shoes that are going to match, or tell me what else I should be doing here. So people are looking for that, wanting that. And so how can you be providing more of that for your current customer base? And so one thing here that I think is important, and it's this last sentence about how personalization is impacting business. When used responsibly, first-party data helps brands build direct relationships with their customers, create value, and overall will boost their advertising performance. So it's a win-win for everybody. You're going to get more customers, more loyalty from your customers, and in turn, your advertising performance is going to increase. And I have some stats to share to show you just that. So how can you get more from your first-party strategies? So those of you who said, I do have some data on my clients, but not really doing anything with it, or I feel like I could be doing more. Or if you don't have a plan at all, first and foremost, think about your customer and establish clear customer experience goals. And so I recommend two things. One, do that website analysis, be the customer, go through your website, knowing what you want the customer to do at the end of the day, if it's making a purchase, signing up for an open house, whatever it is, see what that experience looks like and make sure it's a good one. And if not, obviously it's a great place to start. And then also you can think about your customers in a couple different ways. So if you have customers that are repeat all the time, loyal, VIP, you might have different goals for them versus ones that are a little bit more laissez-faire and just kind of come in and go as they please. And so you can break that down into a couple ways. Second, be transparent about the value exchange. As I mentioned before, I think just as an industry, we've done a horrible job telling people what the value they're getting. So yes, there's all of this free, amazing stuff out there on the internet, but it's not just free. It does, cost time and money, and, somehow it's being paid for. And so I think making sure that your customers are understanding, if I give you my data, if I give you my information, here's what you get back in return. And then assess where you are and find any of these opportunities for improvement. So, again, I think you guys did kind of do a self-assessment in the very beginning with that poll. So kind of understanding, okay, here I do have data, I don't, not really doing a lot with it. So whether you do or you don't, get that plan mapped out, so what's the end goal for your customers? How do you want them to experience their relationship with you? And what are some things that you can start doing to move towards getting more first-party data, and then determine how to utilize it. So there are a lot of different ways that you can take your first-party data and extend it out into a marketing standpoint, which I will talk about. But then finally, measure and optimize. So it is a constant game of, looking to see what's working, what's not, and pivoting as needed. So businesses as a whole, they are just understanding that being customer-centric is key. So 88% of marketers say the biggest driver in personalization is to deliver a customer experience, which I think is great. If that's their, that's your end goal and that's what you're trying to do, I think your customers will feel it. They'll understand that that's what you're trying to do. And in turn, they're going to be more inclined to work with you. 89% of digital businesses are investing in personalization, and 83% of marketers say personalization advances customer relationships. So that's really great, right? Everyone kind of in this world knows that personalization, first-party data, is very, very key. And so I just want to wrap it back to those who maybe aren't sure what first-party data is still, or really it hasn't been there yet. It is something that is going to be important because of this cookieless future. Your data on your customers is going to be king, more so than ever before. We've been saying that for years, but now is you need it, right? It's just going to be critical. And as I keep pointing out, marketers know it, customers know it, and want to have that experience with you. So it's really, really key now that you're kind of moving forward with all of this stuff in mind. So now if we think about personalization across different platforms, one of the biggest area of opportunity that we see and have seen is utilizing programmatic channels within your first-party data. So typically, Facebook, for instance, has been a really, really great channel to upload. If you had a list of names and email addresses, you could upload that into Facebook, target them like crazy. So that's a great example of utilizing first-party data in a smart way. But again, with this iOS update, Facebook is having some challenges and are, experiencing some differences in how they are utilizing data. So display has always been a great channel to basically take your first-party data, upload it into, programmatic, upload it in there, and you can reach the same customer base across all of these things, right? So whereas Facebook, you're uploading it, you're going into one. This, you're going into seemingly 5. So display, which is those banner ads, native, which is, it looks like kind of an article or an ad that's built in and very seamless. It doesn't look so much like an ad. Streaming audios like Pandora, Spotify, pre-roll video, and connected TV. So you can utilize your first-party data across all of these, again, to engage and kind of understand and get more engagement from your current customer base. And also making sure that you're being creative, right? So obviously, yes, customer experience is key, understanding quality content, and A/B testing it, seeing what people are responding to, what type of topics people are most interested in is going to be key. Also, if you don't have content necessarily to push out, what about your creative messaging? Looking at that and reevaluating it on a bi-weekly basis is really, really important, keeping things fresh, and also segmenting it based on the different audience segments that you've identified. And then again, loyalty programs. They just seem to be working. They seem to be very much important to the customer as well as to a business's long-term success. So you want to stay informed and you want to stay agile. I mean, you can Google this stuff all day long. It's happening. There are constant insights and different things that you can be doing. Again, I tried to kind of put some down here that are the most helpful and tangible today. But change is coming. It's always a part of our life, right? But just make sure that you're knowing that you need to start collecting this first-party data. If you're not, make sure you're getting more and figuring out how to move forward with it. These new privacy measures could continue to rise. So Google is really at the forefront of this currently, but there will be more different things coming down the pike that we need to be mindful of. Ad platforms are also reacting. So I mentioned Facebook has already made some changes based on the iOS update. Others are as well. So I think as an industry as a whole, we understand the importance of having a good ad experience for our customers. And so we will continue to, they will continue to improve. A cookieless future is forthcoming, so be prepared. It is not going away. And if you feel like it's a moving target, it's because it is. All right, so now let's look at how personalization improves businesses. So these are just some stats that I thought were really interesting to share. So first and foremost, personalization shopping cart recommendations influenced 92% of shoppers online to buy products. Personalization can increase marketing spend efficacy by 30% or efficiency. Companies, this one I liked, companies using advanced personalization reported a $20 return for every dollar spent. So the more personalized, the more customer focused that they became, the more of a return they saw on their end, right? So they're giving and then in return getting. Personalization can reduce customer acquisition costs by 50%. 70% of consumers say companies' understanding of their personal needs influences their loyalty. I think it's just true. And again, you can think of it from a marketing standpoint and how you can do this with your customers, but even thinking of it from a personal standpoint, the brands or the businesses that you engage with, those who probably are a little bit more personalized to you, I'm sure are going to stand out. And 80% of companies report seeing an uplift since implementing personalization. So again, it pays, right? It pays to be personalized and to be client-centric. So some next steps. I've said this 1,000 times, I feel like, but start on the personalization path. If you haven't already, and if you have, just make sure that you're continuing to stay up to date on the latest trends and that you're continuing to collect personalized data and get better. Dig into what you have in your current customer base. So if you feel like you don't have anything, I'm sure you do somewhere, somehow. It might be on a piece of paper, but you can take that and start utilizing it to create a good digital marketing experience. And then look at your business trends as it relates to marketing. So again, use the business intelligence from your marketing efforts. What geographies are performing better than others, or what maybe male or female, or your ages, whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of different trends that you could look at to help you kind of hone in on your audience a little bit better. Stay up to date with privacy trends and the cookieless future. And then finally, I just think this is super, super important. As much as privacy and data is a concern, and people say, I don't want to be tracked, I don't want my information out there, the bottom line, when it comes to them having a better experience and getting something for it, they are very willing to opt in. And so again, I think it's just on us as marketers or as businesses to say, hey, opt in, and here's that value exchange. Here's what we are going to be doing for you and with you. And really showing your hand there is key. So just one final piece. We did a competitive advantage white paper with eMarketer. And there is going to be a follow-up email after this that we're going to send out. And so you will see, you will have access to this white paper that will dive into a lot of what we covered, give you some more insights. And I believe you'll also get this recording afterwards. So that'll be helpful as well. And please, if you have any questions, like I said, we're going to send a follow-up email. Feel free to respond, and we're very, very happy to help answer any questions or kind of guide you in any direction needed there. And so that is all I have. So I do appreciate your time. Again, very, very willing to help you get through any of this that you need. Feel free to check out our adtaxi.com resources. There's more information there. And simply just Googling, there's a ton of really great insights and information across the web from some pretty smart people. So definitely encourage you to follow along there. And I just want to see, I did see some questions come in. So we will follow up via email to them. We can see who exactly sent in the email or in the questions. And so make sure that we are kind of providing you some one-on-one experience, if you will. So anyway, I look forward to talking with you all. Again, don't hesitate to reach out. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.